Hello, my name is John Phin, and I've been involved in Christian ministry for over 30 years, and I was an area pastor in one of New Zealand's largest churches at the time, and also I've been involved in church planting and overseas ministry in the islands, but also in Indonesia. I've been there many times, 30 or 40 times to Indonesia, and I've seen wonderful things happen. And today I want to share a little bit about how God has made us to minister, and we are made to be powerful speaking spirit beings, exercising authority, speaking in the realm of the spirit, and having authority over sickness. And today I want to make reference to cancer, and someone has shared that perhaps 1 in 3 people in New Zealand will have to deal with cancer, and some even believe that it might be down the track 1 in 2. In my own family, I'm one of 6 and the youngest by many years, and I only have one sister still alive, a sibling still alive, and I've had a brother who died of a cancer of the lungs from asbestosis, and my other sister, she died of bone cancer. And in both cases there are things that have triggered that, but God has provision that even if we have had things that could have given us cancer, there can be healing. And so I want to share with you that over the last 25 years, I've seen 10 people that I've prayed for and been involved in, perhaps as the senior person involved in the situation. I've seen them healed. In only one occasion have I seen people just instantly healed. This is a man in Indonesia, and this man came to one of the meetings that we had in a truck, on the back of a truck, a bus they called it, and he had stage 4 cancer. His face was shrunk, and we spoke to that cancer in Jesus' name. We cursed that cancer, and we don't curse people, but we curse entities. Now, sometimes medical people use the terms to cut, to burn, and to, what's the third one? To cut, burn, and
Just start over that.
And poison, yeah. To cut, burn, and poison. And we're not against any medical treatment, but there are often occasions where medical treatment can only prolong a person's life and often leave them with side effects that they don't really want. And so we want to share what Jesus has done. So in this case we'll perhaps run it in, a little clip, and it's available on YouTube, John Phin, P-H-I-N, healed of back problems and cancer. And you can see this man's face filled out, and he went back to the jungle, to the plantation, on the back of a truck holding onto a rope. So it was a very wonderful time to see this man who had been a week before able to ride back on a rough road holding onto a rope on the back of a truck. Another occasion in Indonesia was a woman who approached Jenny, my wife, and I, and wanted prayer, and she had the look of death upon her, awful white look, and her husband and friends were, you could see they thought that she was going to die too. And so I asked her, she had cancer of the breast, and so I said to her, in New Zealand, often they just take out a V-section, and then it's up to you whether you have chemotherapy. Well, I was thinking in terms of being a Kiwi, but not knowing that she probably wouldn't be able to afford that. There's no public medical treatment in Indonesia, and I didn't know that she'd had a major surgery before, and she'd had a hysterectomy. And so we got some photos that we'll lead in with this, but she looked like death warmed up. But 1 year later, we came and back to Indonesia, as we do at least a couple of times a year, and she introduced herself. She said, "Do you remember me?" And we remembered her, and she's just a picture of health. Now, she'd watched our healing DVD, Healing School, overwritten in Bahasa Indonesian, the language of Indonesia, and that word had come into her, that spoken word, and she was perfectly healed. So that's just 2 occasions, but we've had other occasions where we've spoken to situations and continue to speak. We live in Kapiti now, Kapiti Coast. Some say it's the Sunshine Coast, but not quite the same sunshine as in Auckland where we come from. But here there's, in May last year, a woman in our church was given just 3 weeks to live, on massive pain relief medication. Again, we don't tell people to go off that, but particularly she was on fentanyl, and you're not allowed to drive. And we began praying with others against this cancer. We'd speak the word diminish, and we'd speak the word become less and to shrink. And then one day she came to church in the wheelchairs. Her family brought her to church. So I told her what we're doing at about 12 o'clock each day. I usually speak to that cancer. And she said, "John, I want to tell you it's working." And so it was a joy to hear that. And now she's able to have just about the pain relief of a child, or even less than what they usually give a child. And that's because God has made us to be powerful, speaking spirit beings. Just through speaking, through prayer, to have the will of God on earth as it is in heaven. Genesis 1:26 says God has made us in his image and likeness. And God's not a weak God, he's a powerful God. He's also a love God as well. And so if we open ourselves and believe God for his power to come through us, and that we can have love, because faith works by love. And on our next video we'll share about that, how that can help to release the healing power of God. And so it was a friend of mine shared from our prayer group, because we used to pray every 2 weeks in this men's prayer group, and we'd speak to that cancer, as well as me personally, and some of them speaking personally. And because the tumours had shrunken as we had spoken to them, they weren't pressing on her organs and in her intestines, and she required, there wasn't causing the pain. Well, now we're praying that they would vaporize, and I feel that she's to come to a next level of in her healing and recovery. It's just remarkable that this woman was given 3 weeks to live, and yet we're believing. A senior person in our church has spoken out and believed that she will have another 15 years. I was once in a prayer meeting, probably 30 years ago, and my eyes were open to like flames of fire coming out of people's mouths. And people that were stronger or had been Christians longer, they seemed to have more authority, a bigger flame. And so each time we speak, something happens. Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." And so we have to believe and continue to believe, even when initially things mightn't seem to change. Each time we speak, something happens. And so if we believe, we will receive. But we don't have to do this on our own. And in our next video, we'll be talking about this, about faith working by love, and how then one after that, how faith can join together. And so Jesus demonstrated this. There was a case of a person that was blind. Jesus said, "What do you want me to do?" He said, I want to receive my sight. And so he took something from his mouth, put it on some spittle, and put it on her eyes. Now, we're not talking really about that, but something from his mouth came and he touched the person's eyes. Then he said, "What do you see?" Wanted some feedback. The person said, "I see people walking around like trees." And so he ministered again to the person, laid his hands upon his eyes, and he said, "Well, how do you see it? How are things now?" He said, "I can see things clearly." And so what we want to share is that we have authority if we know the Lord, if we know Christians, that we can speak. Now you need to be under the authority of Christ. You need to have given your life to Him. It doesn't mean that someone can't pray for you, someone that has faith, and there won't be some change. But out there are spiritual powers that can be behind cancer, and behind even viruses. They can be there. And so we've got to learn to take authority. Jesus said, "Heal the sick and lay hands upon people, and they will recover." And so God's wanting to show His love to you. He's wanting to show you that His word is true. And so every time I pray for people, I know that something happens. In Indonesia, just about 3-4 years ago, I prayed for somebody that had to have their blood washed. It's dialysis, they call it, blood washing over there. At first it was every day, and so or every 2 or 3 days. So we prayed, and then there was some recovery, and then the next time the person only has to have blood washing or dialysis every, I think, 1 week or every 2 weeks. And so next time we go, we want to pray and believe that that person will be totally healed. Again, overseas, you have to pay for dialysis each time. And so it can cost a lot of money. I think it's thousands of dollars a time in Hong Kong. And so I wanted to share with you that Christians can pray. We can pray and we can grow in our faith, and we can see that terrible, I call it a Goliath, brought down by prayer and declaration. Just thank you for listening to us. God bless you. Okay, stop.
That was great.